Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute 9th Public Meeting for Testimonials, Monday, August 14th, 2017. I'm your host, Flint Melhausen, and Danny Moe is with us also. Good evening, Danny.
Hello, Flint, and hello and welcome, everyone. Great to meet you again.
Yeah. Glad that you're all here.
Yes. And I think we'll have a few interesting testimonials lined up for tonight. Just see who would like to start. I know we have John and Eric who would like to share something. So I don't know who's ready. Any of you gentlemen?
I'm ready when you are.
Fantastic. Great, Eric. Thank you. Eric, do you want to quickly just introduce yourself again and let us know what your testimonial is about, please?
Yes. My name is Eric and I'm from Denmark. And I'm an electrical engineer that has studied the teachings of Mr. Keshe intensively for 7 months and 7-8 months. And contrary to all the bad things we see that the attacks on Mr. Keshe, I have positive experiences to share. And I really see the benefit of the work done so far. And more is to come, for sure. What I would like to tell today is something about my heat, and I have maybe a few other things I can say, 1 or 2 things more. So maybe we should start with the heat. And I could share a video, but just my video cam on my note block, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
a good idea to start with the heating. I'd say it's another 4 months till Christmas.
Yeah. Maybe I just, is it possible to take my video cam and just show that, or do I also have to open it in a separate window, because I did not do it right now?
Yes, you can share your video if you can, if Zoom sees it there.
Yeah,
it's your microphone. It'd be start video.
Yeah, I have started the video, and I can see the small window at the right side of the screen. It has the right picture, but I just have to share it with the rest of you. How do I do that?
It might show up when you hit new share button. It might show up there.
Okay. But I have more. Where is share screen there? Of course, yeah. And others are sharing the screen right now, so I cannot start it.
Flint, is it working if you click on it? Because we're looking at your screen.
It says that someone else share the screen.
Here we go.
Now we got it.
Actually, it's only coming up as everyone speaks. It's showing as his actual screen username. There we go.
Okay. Do you have it full size now?
Yes. Yes, we're good.
Yes. And this whole thing about the heating is both very simple and also very advanced. And the very advanced stuff I am not so skilled in that yet, because coming with a more scientific explanation of what happens is not that easy, and not that easy to actually design what happens. But at least I have a solution that I got originally from Eva, in Norway, but the problem is that it didn't work. And I tried for months to make it work. There was a very weak effect, but far from enough to getting heat, even in the summer when it was a cold day. But then I built my own first macro and put in the house, and then it started. And the basic idea is that when you have, I forgot to get the pen, I think it's in the kitchen. Basically what you do when you make this is you have the 4 basic ganses. That is, that you have the CO2, and you have, I personally have made it with 60 milliliter of CO2 plus 1 drop of 3 other ganses. And the same goes for the rest of them. CH3, 60 milliliter, and a drop from the 3 other basic ganses. And I have just made it this way. I bought a vacuum packaging machine, and can you see the back here? I can weld the plastic, and I can add a little etiquette so I know what is in it. Because it's, I think it's important to place it correctly. On my drawing, I have sketched how to put up the ganses. The CO2 has to be oriented to the north, and the zinc to the south, the copper oxide to the west, and the CH3 to the east. And I know one thing now, and that is the amount of CH3 GANS water has an influence on temperature. The more you use of this, the hotter it gets. I added 1 extra bag with 60 milliliter, and within few minutes, the temperature rose 1 degree. So there is some function of CH3 in the heating system. There's probably many other interactions that is important, but this is one of them at least. And that's good to know. What I also can tell is that I have this infrared gun, and I use it to measure the temperature of the walls in my house and the floor and ceiling. And if we say this was a house, if we say my house here is 16 meters this way, and how can it be? It is, approximately 9 meters this way. And I have a macro located here, and I have 2 stories. And in the lower story here, on the cellar floor, I have 22.3 degrees Celsius. And that's not normal, not in the summertime even. And in the room below here, before I got this working, and I had a furnace that went broke, so I had no heating in the house except wood stuff, and it could not heat in the lower story. So there I had 14 to 15 Celsius. And when it got it working, it went up to 23 to 24 degrees Celsius. And that is some of the change, I say. This morning, there was 15 degrees, no, not 15, there was 11 degrees when the sun rose this morning. And inside, I checked the wall temperature, and it was 24. And that is not right either, because it was not 11, it was 9 degrees. There was a difference of 15 degrees. So the difference, delta, it was 15 degrees Celsius. And it seems to me that the inside room temperature is almost independent on the outside temperature seen in the temperature range observed this far. And of course, it will be very exciting to see what happens when it gets colder. The normal winter temperature in Denmark is typically around -5 to +5 Celsius. And in seldom cases, we can get down to -20, but it's not that often it happens. So I'm beginning to think that this is actually an all-year heating system. It looks very promising now, I must say. So,
Eric, can I ask you? You were saying you have 4 different GANS bags. Does that mean you have only GANS water in there?
yeah,
or
it's GANS. It's liquid plasma.
Oh, yeah, okay. And another question that I had there for you. You were saying you have 1 Margraf plugged in, yeah?
Yes, actually, I have 3 because I bought 1 in Germany. I bought 2 in Germany for a friend, and they didn't work. It was poor nanocoating. There was even some blank copper spots I could see where there was no nanocoating at all. And there was also these threaded rods. They short circuit to the coils. I measured with an ohm meter between the rod and the electric circuit of the Margraf, and there was connection. That indicates that the nanocoating is non-existing, because even though if a nanocoated coil touches the rod with the thread on, it should not conduct, because the nanocoating is insulating. So it was not so good, and I told about this earlier on. And I think that when people know better how to do this, they should do it probably, not just to earn money, but do it probably, and remember to set a share of it to Mr. Keshe. But I don't think that happens either. But people will get their karma for that. Okay. So I have 2 Margrafs more. And the Margraf I built, I put in series with one of the German ones in order to try to get life in it, because it was not alive at all. And the other one is sitting for itself, but in series with another little and exciting thing that I maybe could show you a little in a moment. What I can tell more about this is that if you have put these bags up, and you see here, you have to orient it around according to the magnetic north-south and so. And I just indicated that if the room is not directly north-south, I select the position this way. This is how I have done it. I don't know if it's significant, but this is the way I did. And at least it was not wrong, because then it would probably not have worked. The next thing I can say is that at the other house in Sweden, there's no Margraf, and it works there. But the woman I had told about with the extraordinary skills, she could see magnetic fields and energies and radio waves, and she also could see an energy spot. If this was a Swedish house, then 4 meters from the corner, she said there was an energy spot very good for meditation. And when I came and put up the bags in the Swedish house, I didn't know anything if it would work or not, but I was just trying it out. And it worked with no Margraf. But then I couldn't understand it, and I asked Paul, why does it work there when there's no macro? And he said there is some energy in the environment. And then I remembered what she's told me about this energy spot 4 meters from the house. So actually, I can thank that spot for having heat in the Swedish house without having a macro there.
That's very interesting, Eric. Can I ask you how long would you think it took from the time that you were positioning those GAN specs until you were able to measure the difference?
I know when I put something on a change. If I do a change in the bags, the sizes of the bags, or move them or whatever, the temperature stabilizes almost completely within 10 minutes. Often you can see a change after 2 minutes. It's incredible fast. And I can, in a public teaching on a Thursday, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I asked Mr. Keshe about this, and he said to me that what is important when doing this is to have a potential difference in the plasma. And what do he mean by that? If you remember, you can have fields, and what I initially thought was right. You can have, if you have a plasma here and a plasma here, then you get field lines between them. But what I thought initially was not correct, I think, because if I, for example, put some CuO here and some CO2 here, it doesn't work. There is some fields, but I get no heat at all.
The potential difference that he's talking about is between the different amounts of CO2.
Yes. So in order to get a maximum potential difference, that is why I wrote here 1 drop of the 3 other gases. Because if you have CO2 here, and you have 60 milliliters here, and you have 1 drop here of CO2 here, and 1 drop of CO2 here, and 1 drop of CO2 here, you see, I don't know how much a drop is in milliliter, but I think there's maybe 40 or more drops in a milliliter. So you get a very, very big difference here, you see? And if you could even take a fraction of a drop, because what you have to do is you have to use some bottles. You have to have 4 containers, and you mix it there from you have storage containers for your liquid plasma water, and then you put in these containers and then fill them up with the 4 basic gases, and then you take 1 drop. If for this one you take 1 drop for each of the other gases and put in here, and if you could even put a micro drop, then you will get an even larger difference, because you have a large volume of CO2 here and a very tiny fraction of CuO here. So that would be a very, very big difference. If we just take some simple numbers, maybe not correct, but just to say, if I have 60 milliliters here, and we say that there's 100 drops on a milliliter, right? I don't know if it's correct. I have never measured it. But if we take this, then you see that you have a potential difference, a factor of 3,600 between this and this. And that is it's much more than the normal patches we make where we say 3 to 1, you see? So this is quite interesting. Christian says is sitting beside me and says, "I know why." That's okay, Christian. We talk about that later. This is what the whole idea is, that for every GANS bag, you have a tiny fraction amount of that GANS in the 3 other bags. So every bag couples to the 3 other bags, goes for all of them. This you need to do. If you don't do this, you get nothing. And the next thing is, if you are so lucky that you have an energy spot near your house, sufficiently near your house, the 4 bags is enough. If you don't, then you have to build a macro also. This is as far as my experience goes now. And I see immediate changes. If you modify something, you see the change within minutes. And it's quite impressive that I have the macro in one end of the house, in the upper floor and the lower floor. There I have and this house is not so new, it's from the late 60s, and there was not much insulation in the floor at that time because oil cost nothing and nobody cared. So this floor temperature is quite impressive, I must say. Also the cellar walls, because if I dig down to the soil outside the cellar wall, it would be probably 8-9 degrees warm, 10 maybe for the most. And I can measure 22-23 degrees on the cellar wall, just 30 centimeter of solid concrete, no insulation material. How can it be? So this is, when it is there, it's a very strong effect. I can also add that Eva forgot to close her door to the balcony, and it was open for 4 days, there might be a few centimeters open, and she didn't notice. It didn't get cold in the room. And the outside temperature was minus 18 degrees Celsius. Or was it 7? I don't remember. It was one of those 2 numbers. But anyway, if you just say minus 7 Celsius, that is quite impressive that you don't recognize it in the room. If I do this in an ordinary house, it gets very cold very fast. And the value of this, you see, the value of this is very, very big for us, because this reduced pollution from heating a lot. So this is really something worth doing, and it gives independence. If you have no money and you have a friend that knows how to do it, or you know how to do it yourself, you can avoid freezing in the winter, at least with a delta temperature to 15 degrees demonstrated now, but in Norway it demonstrated a delta temperature of minus 18 to 22, and that's actually 40 degrees Celsius in difference. So to me it looks like this is a solution for one of the biggest bills you get for heating, and that is for heating the house if you live in an area with cold winters. So, and Mr. Keshe expressly wanted me to test if I added more CH3, and I did not add as much as he said, but I got a temperature rise by doubling the amount of CH3. So that's an information to, if you don't feel you get enough heat, then you can add some more CH3. Or reduce the amount of CH3 in the other bags. But there must be a little bit of CH3. If not, there's no potential difference and no effect. Is this sufficiently clear how this works now?
Wonderful, Eric.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well.
Hi, this is Libby, Eric. Eric, this is a question that probably is obvious to everybody, but do you only need one of those bags with the 4 bags part of it, or do you need to replicate this 4 times? Like one window, like what I'm seeing here, or do I need to do it on 4 windows? I'm kind of lost on that.
Yeah, you always forget to mention something. So thank you, Libby.
You're welcome.
What I have done is I have put this in every room, and I don't care where the windows are. I only care about northeast and west. I got an additional information from Caroline and elsewhere that if we say here is the wall of the house, and this is out, and here's in. If you now put a cover plate here that is nano-coated, it will create like a shield here, as I understood. And if you then put the Gansback inside that shield, then it will act as a reflector, and it will stabilize the temperature in the house so that if you put more load on the heat systems when it's very cold outside, then this should reduce the variation in the indoor temperature. But I have not tested this. It's just information I have got. And everyone can feel free to test this, because if a lot of other people install this and see how it works and come back to the testimonials and report what their findings are, then we can, as a group, get wiser on how to do this correctly and get the benefit we want from it.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much, Eric.
You're welcome. So in every room I have put it. The next thing I'm going to experiment is to have a building and only 4 bags in the building. And that is one of the next things I will test to see what happens when I do it that way. But I have no information on still.
How does this work for cooling?
Yeah, I have been told to not inform about that. So you feel free, because if you are thinking a bit about what is being told by Mr. Keshe, you actually figure it out. But there is a bit of stillstand in it now, because the pressure is hard on Mr. Keshe, and the announced information about how to make a more efficient nanocoating is also unfortunately suspended until I get a green flag for telling about that. Sorry about it, because it was quite useful, but that's the way it is. There's a lot of trouble with the people trying to harass Keshe Foundation and individual members, and we want to take the heat of it a bit, of all the harassment. So that's the way it is.
That's a good start already. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because this is already public.
Yeah.
So I see no problem in just explaining, maybe a little more direct. So because the winter is approaching, and I will really hope that many people take this up, because in 2-3 months it begins to get cold for many people. And if you start now, you have some time to gain experience with the way to heat your house here, and to get it working before you need it. That's why I started already last winter and got no benefit in the winter, but I got benefit in the summer, even because when in the lower floor where I have some electronics shop, 14 to 15 degrees is no fun sitting still and working there. No fun, but now it's good.
And so, also, you remember the feels coming from that are nourishing and nurturing to us all at the same time. So it's like you're building your own oasis system in a certain way, or the preliminaries for, would it not be? Could I stretch it that far?
And and I also need to say one thing, and that was that I was told to spray the whole house with CO2 plasma water inside. And that's not a bad idea. It's health-wise, it's a good idea. And I did that, but it didn't get me heat with the bags. It was not that thing that did it. to make it work. Maybe it's a necessary part of it. And no, it's not, because in the Swedish house, I have not sprayed that with CH2, with CO2. I haven't. So the CO2 spraying of the walls is not a necessity, but it's good to do because of the health effects of it. Any other questions on the heating system?
I think we're good. Well explained. Thanks, Eric. What else do you have for us? Curious now.
Yeah, I have a little bit more. I can tell about a family member gave us a car. It was a Fabia, Skoda Fabia. Not new, but actually in good shape. It was a 1.2 liter, 64 horsepower. And, you know, all my life I have had tuned vehicles. Actually, my present motorcycle with 150 horsepower is the only vehicle I have not added horsepower to. And driving this car with a variant version of it, it was not so fast. And also I had to go to Sweden sometimes, and I would check the health of the car and how it was, if it was okay, so it can be used in without my attendance for it. I have worked with engines all my life, so without bragging too much, I can say I know quite a lot about engines and tuning for thousands of horsepower. So this car, I was thinking, what can I do about this? And we have learned a lot of good things from Mr. Keshe. So this is a fuel hose, and the fuel goes here. And I was thinking, what happens if I put a bag of GANS water here and a bag of GANS water here? So I did. And this is not the correct ratio, I know. I will be corrected if some of the wise guys come and listen to this, but in all my ignorance, I just made the liquid GANS, liquid plasma here. I took 80% of CH3, and I took 20% CO2. And I made a 3-to-1. So actually, seen from the ideal perspective, I don't have the right, because if you take the periodic system and you study what to do with GANS water, this is not correct. So it's up to everyone to try to calculate on the periodic system and find out what is the ideal ratio to get for these two materials in order to get maximum effects. And you see, you can also do something about this. In the heating system, in this hypothetical assumption about 60 drops per milliliter, we got a potential difference of 3,600. Here I have a potential difference of 3. That's not much. But I did this on the car. And I don't know how much this car is capable of doing, but I have driven about 20 kilometer road and about 20 kilometer highway. And then I've been driven, 6 kilometer town, 10 kilometer town. And this highway was with 110 to 120 kilometers per hour. And then I have been driving how much was it? 80 kilometers here. The highway again, with 120 to 130 kilometers per hour. And I've been driving 30 kilometers on winding roads, small roads with very sharp corners and up and down in speed. With speeds from 25 to 70 kilometers per hour. And the average consumption after this trip was 5.7 liter per 100 kilometer, according to the drive computer in the car. And this corresponds to about 7.5 kilometers per liter of gasoline. I know a Volkswagen Lupo. The little 3-liter car they made, it is capable of driving 22 kilometers per liter at 110 kilometers per hour. But the Fabia is no Lupo. It's much bigger, much heavier. And when you compare these two consumption numbers here, it's quite impressive. The car was new to me. We had another Fabia, but not so big. And this is quite a reduced, thinking about the highway speeds. I'm sure this is quite good. And then going back to this and this, there's room for improvement. And can you imagine how simple it is to take your plastic vacuum welder machine or another ordinary plastic bag and seal it with some gas water and put it on the fuel line? It takes total working time, maximum half an hour. And see how much you save. And one thing more, this car was slow acceleration. And there was a noticeable improvement in acceleration. I haven't done measurement, but you know, I'm so used to work with Indians, and I have no doubt that I have increased the horsepower at least to over 70 by you doing this, and at the same time lower consumption. And this is also something I could say, try this out and use a bigger ratio and maybe be skilled to calculate a better mixture here and see what you get and report it. Because those who have long travel to work or long travel to visit friends and family, they can benefit from this also, and also reduce the pollution from oil products. So this is interesting, I think. And it's much more simple than anything else reported on the car. Any questions to that? Have I lost connection? Hello.
No, you're okay, Eric. We're looking at your drawings and wondering what to do first. What experiment to copy?
Get a vacuum seal thing. That's my first thing. Get a vacuum sealer. Thank you so much, Eric.
And let me tell you a little story. Eva was here some weeks ago, and you know, one of my favorite places when I have to get stuff is a scrapyard here in 20 kilometers away from me. And it lies right beside Novo Nordisk, where they throw out a lot of good stuff. So, and also when I come there, there's always zinc plates, there are always cover plates, and sometimes I'm very lucky to get a good cover wire for the scrap price. It's fantastic. And while we were there, it started raining, and we went to a shelter, and in the shelter there was a vacuum machine. And Eva's eyes caught this immediately, and we brought it home for the scrap price.
Wow. I love it.
2 euros per kilogram.
Wow.
And I think it weighed maybe 1.5 kilograms. So that was not so expensive to get. And I checked it and I found out that the vacuum part didn't work, but Eva didn't like me to fix it because, as he said, when I by mistake press the vacuum button, then it sucks out all the gas water from the back. So I should not repair it. And that ended up at Marie in Norway. So she got this very cheap. And you know, when you go to a scrapyard, you will be amazed how much people throw out. It's amazing. And if you have the right eye for it, you can get a lot of stuff for no money, almost no money. So just a hint.
Thank you. I'm taking it. I'm going, well, we don't have too many scrapyards near here, but we do have recycled places.
Yes,
like,
this is also a recycled place of metal, you know.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Any more questions on this?
Hi, Eric. This is Wayne. When you say the fuel lines, is that inside the engines or is underneath the car or is inside the trunk?
Okay, let me just tell a little bit more about it. It's just to get a basic understanding. When you have the car, you have the fuel tank, okay? And often at the bottom here, you have a pump. Then you have a fuel line that goes to the motor. And in the motor, now I just draw it this way, you have a pressure regulator and a return line to the tank. And sometimes there are 2 pumps and sometimes there are only 1 pump. And for those of you who live in cold areas, remember to add some carburetor or alcohol in the winter if you don't use the car a lot, or even if you use the car a lot. I have experienced 2 times that there was so much water here down with the pump that it was not able to turn. And the remedy for this is to put on ignition for maybe 20 seconds, turn it off, wait a minute, turn on ignition again, and do this until you have added so much heat to the engine here that it melts the ice so it can set gasoline pressure. Because the injection here, the injection into the air flow into the engine or directly into the engine, if it's a newer one, will not work if there's not fuel pressure. And where I added it was here. And what you also will notice if you do this is that there's almost no effect in the beginning. But what happens then is, in order to have the constant fuel pressure, because it's or actually you don't have constant fuel pressure, but you have this sensor to the inlet of air, and it ensures a constant pressure difference over the injection nozzles. That is the key importance here. And if you don't have a surplus supply of fuel, so you have a return flow, you cannot keep this difference constant. So that means that you treat some fuel that will return to the tank. So after some hours, all the gasoline gets affected by this. And then the effect of adding this increases. There was not so much in the beginning, but when I drove home, I was clearly sensing more horsepower in the car. It's a very simple, very quick drawn here, but just to tell the basic principle here that the four here is injectors for the engine, and there's a computer that controls the injectors. But the necessity for the injectors to work correctly is that the difference pressure between the fuel line and the manifold pressure is constant. And that is the job of this fuel pressure regulator. And the pump must have a capacity so it can make enough pressure and supplies a sufficient large amount of fuel so there is a surplus that returns, else it doesn't work. Did it help, or is there more questions about that?
Thank you, Eric. But what when the CS3 and also the CO2 is how far the distance between them? Is that inch, 1 inch, or?
Yeah, I think I had 5 centimeters in between. That's open for experimentation. That's why I say that I would like if more than me try this out, and some have it close and some have it far, and then we gain more experience. As a group, we will get much faster experience than if I'm the only one that tries it out, right?
Thank you, Eric. But I did some experiments with the car. I also put some little coil that I got it from Bernie. That little coils inside the spark plug wires, and also the, with the coils to the batteries too. That could help with the what do you call that? When you drive a car is very balanced. That's what my experience with the car. But now I learned from you from the fuel line to put CS3 and CO2 with that to see. I'll test it out. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There has been a lot of things about cars and mileage, and most of you have probably heard about Stanley Meyer. And in regard to that, it's well known that if you modify the ignition system a bit, some has added some coils. And I think the purpose of the coil, in my understanding, is to introduce some specific frequencies, and most people just spend something and they get maybe nothing or a bit. But I think it's about frequencies, and at the point there was plasma spark plugs that you could buy, but it was stopped because it was very beneficial. If you use these plasma spark plugs, it was made this way. You have the walls of the spark plug here, and you have the thread here, and then you have the inner conductor, and you have the ceramic insulation, and then you had a little ball here, and then you had electrodes like this, and seen from the end, there was a cross. When you added a little bit of water to an ordinary car and used these spark plugs, you also got some improvements on mileage. But what happened here? Somebody took the screen.
Press the button there.
I didn't touch the computer. Now it's back again. I don't know what happened. I did
Someone
nothing.
else shared their desktop there for a minute.
Okay.
I cleared it off.
Okay. So this was just to tell that all this about having the high tension line and adding some kind of very short copper coil and connect it to the spark plug. But I think that is something you have to know what you do. Just making some windings on a copper tube as someone did, I don't think it works. No guarantee for that, but if you do it right, and I think the guys that did it originally and published on the internet and quickly got, all these type of inventions. The story about Mr. Keshe is not new. All the inventors that did something that was useful for the benefit of the people of this planet, they have always been stopped and killed, and often they do this, that they emit a lot of information that is almost correct but will not work. And when people go to the net and they search, and there's mileage for the car, and then they get some information, but it's wrong. And when they maybe spend from few hours to maybe a year working on this and get no results, and they are not able to seek information or think for themselves why this doesn't work, then they say free energy or whatever you want to call these phenomena, it doesn't exist. And then those in power has got exactly what they wanted. You also see if a name pops up with some useful invention, a lot of names of the same name for other stuff comes in the seek machine, but not the one you want. That's the way Google is. My postulate, Google is one of the most evil companies in the world. Don't use it. In the search line, you just write D.E. It's DuckDuckGo search machine. It doesn't track you and it presents better results for you. Google is part of the censorship of what we want. Just a side note. Maybe I should, if there's no more questions on the car, enough?
Yes, thank you, Eric.
Okay, then I will get my little friend. I have a little friend here, and I think I just have to fix it. See if I can do it without harming anything. And credits goes to Brett for this. I had to put it in another place so you can see. Remember, Brett showed once in a private teaching that he had macro coils this way. They were all in series. There was and then to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one, and then to a copper plate. And this was nano-coated. And here, it was hidden there. Okay, here, that's the position of the glass. Because when you do this and you have the coils pointing towards the center, you get a plasma here at the center. And see what I got, the black spot there. And on the other side, there's also one. And this is a vacuumed zinc plate, not nano-coated, that is inside this bag. And in here I have salt water almost 10% with ordinary salt. And I guess it's not that easy to see. I put it higher. Can you see? There's some GANs down there.
Yeah.
And it's sticking together. At some point in time, there was also some GANs at the surface, but not anymore. It's gone down. But there was also some collection in a quite big group, maybe 5-10 millimeters in diameter at the top of the water. But it probably went down when I refilled the glass because you have evaporation from it. And also if you see if I can hit it, there at the bottom of the glass, there is also a little black spot here. See?
Yeah, we see that. Wow.
And I don't know what it is, but I never forget that Brett told us this. And because when you make ganses this way, they will be stronger. Because these ganses is not made by what I, in my terms, call hot electricity, or what the textbooks calls electron current. This is ganses made by fields, and they are stronger, and they are also more pure because this is quite good food grade quality plastic used for packaging food in the vacuum sealer. So, and with the small pressure differences here and the very thick plastic, I don't expect much metal to go outside of the, not in the matter of state at least. So I just let it sit and see what happens. But now I left home for a short while so you could see it, and I will put it back again if you have seen what you want.
I have one more question for you, if I may. Just in regards to that copper plate, that there is no actual battery or electricity used, right? They're just all hooked one to the other. Is that correct?
They are hooked to each other. Yeah, as the three macro coils are hooked to each other.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
One in series, magnetic to, I think it's gravitational, magnetic, gravitational, magnetic, gravitational, magnetic, and the copper plate is just lying on the floor and insulated, so
Okay.
it cannot. And you have the face on the mains connector.
Oh, you go.
And actually what I did was that I took the German non-working macro and I was thinking that I was not satisfied. These coils were made before I learned more about how to nanocoat correctly, and they were much better than the nanocoating in this macro, much better. But I was not satisfied with the quality, and I was thinking maybe this can help this one, or this one can help this one when they sit together. Then they can be friends and do something. So and it actually works because the coils on this macro was light brown in color, almost copper color, but a little bit light brown. And after they have been 1 month together, when I look at the coil, there has become to appear areas on the German macro coils that is a bit darker than the rest of it. So I think it is working, and these has been, now they are completely black after sitting for a month. So I think they help each other to come alive. And I take the spot on each side of the sink plate in the vacuum bag. I take that as a sign of the plasma existing. And also I have a special screwdriver from the time when I did measurements on electromagnetic radiation from mobile phones and all that stuff. And I don't know if I can find it right now, but this screwdriver is able to detect fields now from about 40 centimeters away from the macro. And at the beginning, it was only 5 centimeters. So something has happened, certainly. But I think it needs, we are talking months here, maybe half a year because I don't have a macro that is okay. The one I assembled myself was with very high quality nanocoating, but the problem was that during some transport and packaging, it was handled too rough, and there was broken nanocoating. And then that's almost starting from new to be sure you have the nanocoating, because as I consider it, you have a kind of circuit in the macro. Now it is just illustrating an electronic circuit where you have some parts in. And if you don't have an unbroken path of nanocoating in this circuit, it doesn't work. It only works with plasma, it doesn't work with ordinary electricity. You can take an ohm meter and you can ohm all the things when you have it nanocoated. It properly, and you know, if you just take a nanocoated wire and you bend it a bit, if we say this was a wire, and then you just do like this, then you crack it, and here you compress it. And now it's not okay. It actually needs repair. So when you build macros, do your utmost to make the wires, bend them and correct them to length, and do it as good as you can in order to make so little movement as possible with the wires afterwards. Because when you break it, you have to wait for the nanocoating to repair. Maybe I could give you a little appetizer, because some of you might have a 3D printer or know someone. I just have to give you the idea of it. You see, I have to move this before I tilt it. Just to have an idea of it, you see, I have made a 3D printed part, and I can put the coils in here. And when I do that in nanocoated, then of course the outside here will be hurt, but there will be a path at the inside of the wire that will not be hurt. So this is the way I will build macros from now on. I can show you the part here, and I have made a lid. And when I put the lid on, I have the wires going out here. And I can recommend that when you wind it, the outer coil do like this, then you save one connection. Instead of having 3 connections, doing like this, from the outer to the inner macro coil, you save 1 connection. And the last part I can show here, I think. Yes. Because now I have not printed all of them yet, but this is for 1 layer in the stacker. And then I made this ring. And when I put them together, see, then I can Then I can take the next here and space them more, and then I have the 3 layers. And this way, I have the coil, and as soon as I put it in here, add on the lid, and I have a little, you know, like this in the assembly between the 2 parts. Then I can add a drop here of 10-second glue. So if I have this and I add the 10-second glue here and here, some places around the circumference, then this coil will not be hurt anymore. The only thing I can hurt is the wires here. And again, I will recommend that you prepare everything mechanically. And then you see if I could find that. I had a wire, I think it's here. Yes. Just a practical tip. Now here is a wire from a macro coil. And you know, this is a magnetical wire. And here you have a gravitational wire. And then you can do like this, or actually better like this, and put them together. And
That's
the only thing
this is turning into a teaching now. You've shown us so many beautiful things. We should actually split them up for the next time as well, so we're not running out of stuff here.
Yeah, okay. So just to say this, because this is something that will harm, you know, I've just talked about the heating system. And I don't expect energy spots to be present everywhere where people live, because they're quite seldom. Sometimes there are many kilometers to an energy spot. So I was lucky in the Swedish house. And then I said, you need a macro. So you have to build a macro. And if you do this badly, craft-wise, handcraft-wise, then you will start freezing in the fall, you know, because it's not ready yet. So I have to give you some tips to make it work faster. And you know, when you have everything you can make ready mechanically and nano-coated, that is a big plus. And the things you cannot do ready nano-coated, you have to nano-coat first and assemble afterwards. Do it like this. You can have a drill and buy drill, maybe this is 1.6 millimeter thread, and I took a drill that was 1.7 millimeter board, drill this size, and then I twisted 6 turns here. So you can put this in without harming, very carefully put in here, and then you just twist it a little bit more, and then you don't have to twist it that much before it locks in and sits very firm. And then you have done very little mechanical disturbance to the nano-coating of the macro coils. Assemble everything, prepare it so it has the right length, the right angles on all threads, and then nano-coat it and assemble afterwards. Okay.
Beautiful, Eric. Thank you so much. That's a lot of information to write down here. Wonderful.
Now I think I have taken my time. We have to let others come.
It's very interesting. Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
I'm sure we're going to experiment with your findings. Thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Eric. You're a wealth of knowledge.
I'm still a newbie, I say. Everything is relative. I wish I was as wise as Mr. Keshe, but I'm not. But, you know, there was a teacher in NLP, and she had the class, and she teaches all about these psychology things and how you are and what you do and why you do it and so on. And one of the students said to her, how lucky you are. And you know the answer? She said, I have been exercising and training a lot to be lucky. That goes for everyone, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to share findings with us, to show something, to speak about something?
We have an Alex Skorick that was waiting here.
Yeah, is Alex there? Alex, are you there? Maybe he's gone for a break. What about, I think we had also John while we're waiting. Liberty, anything coming from John?
I did send you his little testimonial that I helped him create. He just had a very interesting story, but I think his mic is working. Do you want me to open it for him, or should he try, or you try? Did you receive the file I sent for John? If not, it's okay. I'll go look for it.
I did receive the first one. I couldn't open the second. So is there a big difference?
Okay, your mic's still on, Eric. I'll go, I can share. John, are you around? Because it's your story. It's a beautiful story. I was just helping him back it up with pictures and words. Are you there, John? And he may have had somebody show up looking for water because he's got a beautiful story to tell. But let's see if anybody else has a story, and then he can come back on if he just might not be available.
Sure. Do we have anyone else who would like to share with us? Please open your microphone and speak to us. No news? That's a pity. That means we have to go home now.
And I hate to, I just was recording it for John, so it's his story, but it's a really nice, there's good pictures to go with his story.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll come back, or if not, it'll be the next testimonial. I want to thank you and Flint so much, and Eric. That so far has been an incredible, he wasn't going to class, but I'm sure there's a lot of testimony. Yeah.
I can share a bit more if you want.
Well, I think
we might. I don't know.
We love what you're sharing, that's for sure, Eric. Thank you so much. Your detail is very helpful to me.
And don't forget, everyone can go to testimonials.keshefoundation.org and type in your testimonials there to have them public on the web.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder there.
But I can add that in 2 weeks we start a little study on autism. It's so that Eva, who is very skilled in all these cancers, and she had made about 300 cancers and cancers of almost every material she got near. And she made a mixture for my wife's autistic son. And it has been quite remarkable because, as Eva said, she doesn't want to change the course of his life without any permission. So she didn't put the substance that takes the autistic away, but she used some ingredients that detox the body. And I think that receipt is public somewhere. I don't have it right here. But this detox has been used on Christian is his name for about 2-3 months. And it's remarkable how it works. I have known him for many, many years. He's 48 years old now. And I know precisely what he can and cannot, and what he can learn and what he cannot. And lately, and within the last months, he's beginning to improve his skills in conversation. He is beginning to be able to form sentences and have a little conversation, not that advanced. He has always, after after I learned him for maybe 5 years, I did something very unpleasant to his mother, but it worked. I opened him up by making some demands on his behavior, and it actually worked. I got the first hug after he got autistic, and then he started showing feelings and talking about the joys of going to vacation and Christmas and birthday, and when he has to go trips with someone that takes care of taking him on a trip one time each month, and he looks forward to everything, and he's always happy as can be, and look forward to all the joys in life. But he was not that skilled in talking. And what has happened lately now is that his conversation skills has improved notably. And what has been done to do this? The Detox mixture has been sprayed in his bed and in his room, and also in his bed here at home, because he's home every second weekend. And what's even more amazing is that what is called pedagogue, what is called in English, the ones with these education to take care of these nurses or whatever, with special training for handling these children and adults, they have noticed that some of the other children has also improved. Yeah, and one thing more, Christian, the health practitioner, he's very proud of his hair, because it grows very nicely on his previously bald head. And my wife's son, he was also bald, and he has got a lot of hair also on his head after he has gotten this treatment. And what the nurses also experienced was that some of the other children has also improved now. So that this actually shows that just spraying his bed and maybe some of his clothes has an influence of the rest of the children that is in the same common room. I think that is remarkable also. And the person with special abilities was asked to check Christian's soul if he wanted to be cured of autism. And his soul answered, yes, I want to be cured. So in 2 weeks, we start with a full remedy for reversing the autistic condition. And if we are very lucky, we will succeed in 1 year. That is what I have to tell about this at the moment. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Eric. Thank you. You keep us updated, please.
Yes, I will.
Now, do we have anyone else who would like to share their experiences or show something?
Yes, Alex, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Alex.
Hi, Danny.
Alex, do you mind introducing yourself? Tell us a little about yourself and about what you're going to show us.
Yes, I've been following the Keshe teachings since the Fukushima reactor incident, going back about 2 years. And I have been, well, okay, I'm sorry. I have been involved in advanced technologies for a long time, and so it was really intriguing to me to see this technology come forward. So it's about time, and so a lot of people are very skeptical about it, and that's too bad for them. It's actually right on, and lately I've been trying to figure out which course to take. And now I agree with the course that Mr. Keshe has taken.
You still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you broke up for about 10 seconds there.
Oh, I apologize. Maybe because I was adjusting the screen. Okay, so yes, what I was saying is when you lose your health, you lose everything. So the health has become very, very important. And then I've had health issues in my family. So, I mean, we're talking about cancer, thyroid problems, diabetes, that type of thing. And so all of those things are past. That's not something that our family is concerned about, and hasn't been for a long, long time. But it's a fairly new thing for a lot of people. The big deal for me is that on April 18th, we had the new website, cancerprocessing.org, that came out. Which basically, you know, in my own words, it's made me a free man, because now it's on the YouTube, it's on everywhere. Every country has it. Every doctor who looks at that can see the scientific evidence coming from the University of Tokyo, and they can see the results. And if they don't believe it, again, it's too bad for them. This is real. It is normal. This is very normal. And it's the way it's supposed to be. So making people happy is shouldn't be a special thing. It should be a regular thing. And when people are given bad advice at your expense, primarily, then that becomes vexing. And so, you know, living in Canada, we have a thing. Although we have health care, which a lot of people are jealous about. What they're not jealous about is the extra billing.
You've been breaking up again now, Alex. Sorry, Alex, we can't hear you. Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. Oh, I see. I've got an internet problem. Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
now.
you stopped after extra billing.
Yeah, extra billing. People don't understand about extra billing. So I paid over $200,000 in extra billing. So that's not counting the regular health care, you know. So this is a common practice. But you know, then we find out that for under $50 that you know, we can get our health issues resolved. I think that's a pretty good thing. And the more people that know it, the better it is. So, Flint, I sent you three pictures. Did you get them already?
Yes, I did.
I had to do something. I was quite desperate. My friend was very, very sick, and I just was running out of time, and I had to do something very, very quickly. So, is it possible for you to show some of those pictures?
Yes, I have them up already.
Okay, what you're looking at there's six bottles with red caps in them, and they form a reactor. There are there's supposed to be 7 bottles in the middle, and the rest of the bottles are along the outside. So I started with about a dozen bottles, and it's kind of grown, and that's the size of the table that they're on. And then I've gotten into cases. Each case that you see there are 3 cases stacked on top of the reactor. There's 24 bottles in there. So there's altogether is 5 times 24, about 120 bottles in this reactor approximately. And so what I found was that I was starting to get results, and then so my friend was the first. He had terminal cancer, and I had to give him the water. He was very stubborn. And so within 2 weeks, you know, he completely turned his health around, and about a month later, the doctor gave him a clean bill of health. Not so much clean bill of health, but better than what he was when she first seen him. And he was going to one of the cancer hospitals here in our province. The next picture, if you could show me with the 6 bottles. So these are the bottles. So what I chose was tall and thin bottles, and the reason for it is I originally wanted to draw off the plasma water. So basically, what I have, it looks like the 2nd, 4th, and 6th bottle there. That is carbon dioxide GANs, and then I have the liquid plasma water in there. And the first, third, and fifth bottle, I had a little problem with my GANs production, and I got my zinc and my copper mixed in together, and I think I also got some carbon dioxide mixed into that. Anyway, it's what I had at the time, and things were changing so rapidly, so I really couldn't keep up with the advancements in the technology, so this is as far as I got. One thing I know is that there's a gradient, so if you look at the first, third, and fifth, you'll see half full bottle of GANs, a lot less, and then a lot less in the fifth one, and the same progression in the second, fourth, and sixth bottle. You see a large, medium, and small kind of. So basically, there's a gradient going from the left to the right, and so this creates a field force. So then what I did was I put the bottles in a hexagonal formation, and I alternated those bottles. So I had the zinc GANs in one and carbon GANs in the other, and I went around in a circle, and I formed a hexagonal shape with the bottles. And then an interesting thing happened. Okay, yeah, so here we are back with the bottles. So every other bottle is a different bottle. So one bottle is zinc, one bottle is carbon, one bottle is zinc, one bottle is carbon, one bottle is zinc, one bottle is carbon. The 6 of them form a reactor in a hexagonal pattern. Originally, my intent was to draw the water off and use that for drinking, but then we recognized that the water has a special capability of absorbing the field forces. So, and it was my understanding that the forces in the middle were stronger than the forces on the outside. So what I did, I started to produce the bottles in the middle of the reactor and draw from that first. And as bottles were removed from the middle of the reactor, then I would kind of bring in the bottles from the outside and bring them in towards the middle. And then I would run out of bottles, and it would take roughly about 18 to 24 hours to get a reaction. And how did I know that? Well, it was just by feel. So when we get to the third picture with all the cups, apparently in Ghana, the minister was there challenged with the validity of the technology, and so Mr. Keshe suggested that he's a big boy and he can step up to the table and run a pH test. So a lot of people use the pH strip. I use phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein is a chemical, and I got to the point I said I was just going to put 3 drops into a cup, and I know I'm using styrofoam, and I thought maybe that would have an effect, but this is the result, and since that time, I decided, you know, I had no way to test, so I said, look, let's test this with the pH. So the back row was from within the reactor. The middle row, the next row, is from outside the reactor, and the third row with the 2 cups, that's 20 feet away, and the fourth row, the blue and the yellow, those are the controls. So the blue is a pH of 8, the yellow is a pH of 6, and all of the cups started out yellow, except for the control. And so the interesting thing happens then is, first of all, was there a reaction? So yes, there was. And what are some of the observations? One is that I could get the reaction done in as little as 9 hours. So, you know, I didn't stand by I haven't timed them out like perfectly to find out exactly. This is not scientific. This is very cursory. So I just wanted to see if there was a reaction and what the difference is in the reaction. So the interesting thing is, like in the back row, starting at the left, that was the first cup that I put in and said, is there a reaction? Yeah, and yes, there was. So then I took that and I moved it away about 10 feet away from the reactor, and it actually every day progressed to get darker and darker. So we're looking at 11 cups there, represents about 11 days. And you can see by the control is a darker blue. So the one in the top left-hand corner is not quite there yet. So I would say it's a little bit under a pH of 8, maybe let's say 7.5. The most important thing here is that all of these are alkaline, every one of them, and they all started at a pH of 6. So the pH of 6 being acidic. So we have definitely advanced the pH in these bottles, in these cups, I'm sorry, from 1 to 1.5 on the pH scale. But as I moved the cups 10 feet away, they continued to change color and they continued to darken. And so you can actually see a trend here. Now, the interesting thing is that one of the cups I put behind, I have a little donation jar, little piggy bank there, and it obviously had a lot of coins in there. So what I found was that it took about 36 hours to turn color, and I wasn't too concerned about what I had in the middle of interference. There's wires in the walls, there's steel studding in the walls, there's drywall, there's other machinery. This piggy bank seemed to have the most effect on one of the cups there, so it took a lot longer. So I thought that was reasonable. If it's within the center of the reactor and if it would react within 24 hours, that's pretty good. And if it's outside of the reactor, it would take a little bit longer. Well, the 2 cups in the third row from the top, the 2 cups in the third row, I decided to put 20 feet away because I've had energy healers come, and what they said to me was when they parked the car in the front that they could feel the energy already. That measures between 30 and 40 feet, which is comparable to what Whitney discovered in Arizona. So, but the farthest I could go was 20 feet inside the building here. So those 2 cups on the third row represent 20 feet away from the reactor, at least 20 feet away from the center of the reactor. So, and that just happened a couple of days ago. So that's also pretty impressive. So the final conclusion that I noted is number one, the duration of the reaction. In other words, the longer the reactor works, the stronger the reactor becomes. The second thing I noticed, because 2 was not enough, two cases of water bottles was not enough, I had to increase the number of cases in the reactor. So I didn't know how to do it, so I stacked them. And so in the first picture, you see I've actually stacked them 3 high. And once I went to the second level, it just really pushed me back. Just with the sheer volume of the water in it, you have to understand that every one of these bottles is now a plasma water. So the reactor actually increased. If the reaction started with the 6 red cap bottles and then extended to the 120 some odd bottles that I had in the rest of the reactor, then the energy field was much stronger, and it actually really pushed me back. So just as an aside, before I even started to do this, I was having trouble with people. We all have had trouble with skeptics, right? Anyway, the interesting thing is that I was focusing on the zinc. To me, that is the biggest problem. The zinc is the biggest problem because it affects the psychology. So before I even started to do the water, I took a bottle of the zinc and I kept it with me for about a week. And I thought, maybe that would make my life a little bit easier, and actually it made it worse. And I couldn't figure out why, and I think the reason was why is because everybody else was stressed around me and I was much more calm. And that caused problems. So then I started to share the zinc with other people, and I find that they were having the same problem that I was, and they were becoming more calm. So at that point, you know, I felt, okay, the zinc is working pretty good. So what could I do? So understanding how this reactor operates, the red caps are all a negative charge. The area in between the red caps is a positive charge. The size of the bottles is comparable to the size of the water bottles. So format, and my goal is to actually make the table a little bit bigger and to capitalize on a honeycomb type pattern that is emerging out of this, and just make it that much bigger. But I'm at the point now where one day I went through 4 cases of water, and most of my customers are repeat customers. They are I have one 95-year-old gentleman. He comes every week and gets 5 bottles religiously, and it's, you know, it's so wonderful. And I really thought that I would have a tremendously adverse reaction with the people here, and it's been the exact opposite. It's almost been one of desperation, and people saying, you know, doesn't matter how much money we have, you know, we have problems with cancer, diabetes, and all sorts of other ailments, arthritis, or whatever. It's a problem, and we know that 85% of the seniors are over medicated, and you know, we like every city have a drug problem. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the zinc was the most important because it was affecting the emotional aspect of it, and everything that's happened since April the 18th has proved me right in this. So it wasn't until we got to the pH test with the waters that I felt that there was something that I could show. I think there's lots of improvements that can be made with this, but my basic procedure is this. I buy the bottles in the case, and I've learned how to cut the case properly so that I can keep the plastic wrap. And then I unscrew the bottles, I dump the water, and then I rinse the bottles, and then I fill them up with clean water, which I run through a ionizing filter, and then I put them in the reactor. Within, I like to get them at least a day old, and then go from there. So I can do, so I put some loose bottles there on the bottom, and then I learned how to stuff them back into the cases. And as you can see, I take the labels off the cases. So that's one of my goals, is to actually get this method approved for plasma water or something. So that's in the works right now. But in the meantime, we just we have the water there, and people just drink it. I found that some people will drink a bottle a day, and which I think is a lot, and there's been no negative effects. In fact, it's just been the complete opposite. It's been so welcome. So and then repeat customers has been the phenomenal thing. So I just I need to increase this and let people know that the plasma water is a real deal, and there is no MagRav reactor involved with this, except I just did the GANS itself. I made it using the nano coating and the regular method for making the GANSes, and then I washed them, put them in the red cap bottles, put the reactor just on a table there, and that is it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing, Alex. That's very interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for letting me show this.
Yeah, very, very inspiring, Alex. Thank you.
It's brilliant. I am so grateful to see this, because it seems like once you have the GANSes, all you need is to get a good supply of water like that. Thank you.
So you don't like the water that comes in the bottles?
Well, first of all, we know that Nestle controls most of the water around the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if the company that I'm buying from is actually owned by Nestle, but I try and stay away from their specific brand. But I've resigned myself to buying these plastic bottles because they're made anyway. As an environmentalist, it upsets me that we have plastic bottles, but you know, I guess, you know, how else do you sell the water? I mean, it's got to be in a container somehow. So I might as well get their bottles, which are useless, and recycle them while they're still clean.
Yeah, but they're not BPA-free containers.
Yeah, but you know what? Once it goes into plasma,
yeah,
it doesn't really matter. And the one other aspect I can tell you is that the taste in the water sometimes goes funny. Like first of all, we all know that the taste in a plastic bottle goes funny because of the way they make it. The way they make the bottle is, as we all know, I'll just review it, is that they have a plug and they inject it with hot air to blow the plastic into the cavity, and then they move and fill the water into and then screw the lid on. They've eliminated one step. Instead of using hot air, they use hot water. So they actually form the bottle in the bottle cavity using extremely hot water. So now, as the plastic is curing, the rosin within the plastic is actually migrating into the water. So the water that we're getting in these plastic bottles is actually plasticized water, and dare say, my opinion is it's carcinogenic. So, you know, this gets this stuff off the market. So I'm competing against them using their own product, and so. You know, whatever, it's a small price to pay anyway, so I just take the bottles, you know, buy the bottles. I'm not buying the water, I'm buying the bottles. And actually, the most important thing here has been the plastic wrap. I have to be very careful on the plastic wrap so that I can sell it by the case. It's very handy, so it saves me having to build a special water bottling machine. So I can do 3 cases in an hour. That's what it boils down to. So that's 3 times 24 cases in an hour. And I've been going to anywhere from half a case to 4 cases in a day.
Have you noticed any length of time the cases are good for?
No, that's an interesting thing because I have not had a case last for more than 3 days.
Because it's consumed.
I live in a dinky little town of 15,000 people, but, you know, 100 bottles is just not enough. You know, I sent 2 cases to one place. Nurse has a gentleman with cancer, so she bought a case for him. I had the same day I had another person who had purchased 2 cases the previous week, bought 2 cases for her brother who has cancer. So, you know, within a matter of 30 minutes, 3 cases went out the door. And all of a sudden, my reactor not only is I'm running out of bottles, but you know, the energy levels drops down, and then it takes about, like I say, 12 to. I'm pretty sure that I can get the reaction up within about 12 hours. You know, but just to be comfortable, get it up into 24 hours. The interesting thing is now with the pH test, I can actually come up and measure. I can measure how effective it is, and so I can come up with some, you know, I'm not really good with the scientific aspect of the data. I just don't have that type of close control, but you know, my goal is to find out if it works. Yes, it does. My goal is to find out how far the field is. I've gone 20 feet. And this is the third thing is, you know, I started with a pH of 6 and I went up to almost 8. You know, please tell me what you know that can do that without adding baking soda or running it through an ionizer. Please tell me what I can do to raise the pH like that other than, you know, some kind of 6 bottles sitting on a table and air between them and target bottle. Tell me what can raise the pH like that. I don't know.
Very interesting, Alex.
I have a question, if I may. So those red top, those are glass bottles, right?
Yes, they're glass bottles, and that's specifically why I chose the glass bottles, Libby, is because so that they wouldn't impart the plastic in there.
That's beautiful, and it's a confirmation of the thing that Eric showed us too. Just this is beautiful. This is so exciting. Thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah. Again, to Flint's point, you know, with respect to the plastic migrating in the bottles, the glass bottles were purposely done there. The thing that I was looking for was tall, thin bottles, because as we draw the water off, we don't want to, you know, consume up the gans. And, you know, if you do that with a big, fat, stout jar, then you get a little bit of water and a lot of gans. So this way, the gans is way down there. So I have a confession. You'll notice that some of the water has been removed from these bottles. I have made another product which I've actually taken the liquid plasma that's in the red cap bottles, and I've made tiny bottles, size of your pinky, okay, tiny little glass bottles, and I've taken other bottles which are the size of your thumb, let's say twice as big, and I filled them up with the plasma water, and I put the big bottles at the foot of the bed and the small bottles at the head of the bed. And I've had people get off their Valium and their sleeping pills and sleep like a baby.
Beautiful. Beautiful. This is so inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, so just one other point that I just want to make. The water has a unique characteristic, is that it can impart and take in field energies, and this proves it.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
another experiment for us now, isn't it? Very good.
Well, we can just, you know, we can just grow from here. So, thank you very much. If anyone has any other questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thanks for showing the pictures there, Flint.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Yes, Alex, please keep us updated. Maybe you might even at some stage have testimonials from the people that are drinking your water for whatever reason. That would be interesting too.
Well, that would be interesting. People are very shy to step forward. It's that part is
testimonials.keshefoundation.org.
I
have them go there.
I got it. Maybe I'm hoping that this little thing here today will inspire them to do more.
Are you in Ontario or Quebec, Alex?
Right, I'm a half hour from the Quebec border. I'm in Ontario.
Okay. Good to know. I might come visit you someday.
I'm in the near north, halfway to the North Pole.
I'm in Nova Scotia. I'm not that far.
Oh my God, have you got problems down there? Are you anywhere near Yarmouth?
No, I'm not, but there's a lot of water problems in a lot of areas, and I know that I want to do something about it, but I feel so isolated here, so.
Okay, what you need to do is you need to make a reactor like this and go down to Yarmouth. There you got problems, big problems.
Ooh, I got a mission. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you know, we live in an area where we have the highest, largest amount of water volume and surface area of any place in the world, and we have heavy metal poisoning. We have gold, copper, and nickel poisoning in our water. We have a high sulfur content. This is mining country, and you know, there's no way that you can say that the people are poor up here, but the health issues in our area, and particularly in Ontario, we have the highest rate of cancer per capita. And it's, you know, it's amazing. We have such a high opinion of ourselves and such a low health record, it's the contradiction in terms is mind-boggling. So, as I say, April 18th was a very significant day. A lot of people, when I tell them, I try and tell everybody that I know. I'm almost a nag when it comes to telling them, but I don't think they understand the gravity and the importance of it. You know, when there are people out there who are absolutely desperately looking it's like, and when people ostracize you, oh, I got a problem with the internet. When people ostracize you because you're sick, that's, you know, ridiculous. And it's also rude to be poor. It's rude to be poor. So, you know, if you're poor, you're bad. So, you know, but, you know, the reason we're rich is because in Ontario it costs $340,000 on average to treat someone for cancer, and that's paid by, you know, that's what they pay with respect to the public health care. What they don't tell you is how much it costs privately. So, or how much they charge you an extra billing, and they do not only charge an extra billing, but they also double dip. And you know, they double. And
I don't think they're liking what they're hearing.
you know, that is so funny. You know, that is very funny.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
I mean,
it's very tied in.
We got to complain about, you know, what we're doing here because the poor doctors are not going to be able to earn $340,000 per person. But, you know, what they forget to tell you is there's some donkey who's been paying that money. Okay? And that guy was me. I was paying. Okay, I lost my home, I lost my car, I lost my job. You know, I come home, see the furniture on the front lawn and my clothes in the dumpster, and nobody cares. Okay, as long as the doctor is making his money. You know, there are a lot of really, really good doctors, really, really good doctors, and I know that most of them got into the business because they have compassion for people. You know, but when you become a drug dealer in a lab coat, that's got to stop.
Here's to the souls of all those real dedicated doctors rising up and changing with us. Very good, Alex.
Absolutely. Yep. Well said.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have, by any chance, John back now for us?
Yes, I'm here.
There you are. How are you, John?
Very good for Alex there.
Yeah.
Well, Flint, you got my pictures, have you, or just you?
I think Danny does.
No, I sent them to you, Flint, but I will try to open it if you don't want to. I have it open here, so I can probably open it faster than anybody else. So let me try.
Experience, Libby.
Let's see. I hope I have that here. Yes, I do. Okay. Oop. No, that's not what I wanted to share. That's not at all what I wanted to share. Sorry. Okay, we'll try that again. Where'd it go? There it is. And we play this as a slideshow. Okay, this is John's story, so he can read it out, but I recorded it in a Zoom chat because it was such an important piece of information. Thank you, John. Go.
No, thank you, Libby, please. That was very good. I'm attending people continually all day. I get pulled away from my class every now and again, so that I always record everything, or try to. And but the thing is, one hasn't got the time to re-listen to everything. So we're all trying to help people out. This last week, I had this bloke that came along. Well, 2 weeks ago, he came along. I gave him a Gans water because he had some problem in his left knee. And he came along last Monday. And he said, well, my knee is cured, but then a nail came out of my right foot. And he told me that he had had an operation 3 years ago in his right foot, and 2 nails were put into his foot. And one of the nails just popped out. It didn't even bleed. And that's the picture you have there. You could show us. A little bit, please. And well, the physician that had treated him said,
Sorry.
oh, this is something that's never been seen. This is fantastic. But all the doctors sort of are keeping away from me. Nobody wants to sort of experiment with these waters. But, well, the people are curing themselves from many different ailments, from arthritis, arthrosis, rheumatoid arthrosis, or I don't know what it's called in English. But
can you guys see this picture?
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
There's the
and there was
nail
another
just
one. Yeah.
popping out. Yeah.
But that's
And was he just drinking that water, or was he
Yes.
putting it actually on his
No, he
foot?
drank just no. He didn't even take patches, because I didn't have any patches at the time. So he just drank this water for 5 days, and this nail just popped out of his foot.
Did he pull it out?
No, it's just popped out.
I have
And it
another
didn't
picture.
bleed.
I'll try and find the picture beforehand. You could see it trying to come out, but this is the one that came up. But it's apparently not as well organized as I'd hoped it to be, so I will try again.
Yeah, and well, he didn't feel anything. He did this nail just popped out, and well, I mean, you had a testimony about a couple of months ago. This other bloke that couldn't walk at all. He had very strong arthritis or arthrosis. I don't know what it's called in English. And he couldn't walk. He could barely move his feet sideways. And now he's walking 8 kilometers a day. And he also carries about 10 liters of water every time he comes along here. And previously, he couldn't even carry 200 grams in his hand because he couldn't walk at all. So this is one of the many people that are sort of curing themselves, because we don't cure them. They cure themselves. I mean, each person having the tool cures himself. So that's what. Why don't you show with the tank with the water where I make the water, so Alex can have a look at it. And I have a tank, and I have 12 glass jars where I have the GANs in these jars, and I don't have them capped. I leave them open so they have a contact with the water. The GANs always remains there in the jars, and I produce about between 80 and 100 liters of GANs water a day, and I put them into plastic containers, bottles that people bring along, and all this is given away. So that's the work I'm doing. And also patches. I make GANs patches. Yeah, there we are. I make GANs patches about 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. I have one with, I make one with zinc and CO2 GANs and water. I always leave some GANs. I squirt I don't use paper. I use these fabric cloths they make for the kitchen, for cleaning the kitchen. I cut them up in 20 by 20 centimeters and put them in plastic bags And with a syringe, I put some GANS water, 40 cc's, and some GANS together with them to give them a bit extra strength. I make one yellow one, a yellow colored one, which has CO2 and zinc GANs, and a blue one or grayish one, which has some zinc oxide and some seawater GANs all included. So we have a differential between one and the other. And those are the patches I make. And well, those there you had a view of the bottles I fill up every day. I filter all the water through a coffee filter, make sure that nothing else goes into the water. And well, that's about, I keep busy producing this GANS water every day, apart from following the teachings.
Now, John, are you recording the, oops, sorry, honey.
No, okay, good.
Are you, is the different colored tops on your water, are they helping you code-wise to know what's in the water?
No, the water is always the same water. The different colors are the different makes of the bottles. So they bring all the water and the Coke bottles and Pepsi bottles and what have you. And each one has their own color. The red ones are mainly Coca-Cola bottles. The green caps are normally Pepsi caps. Some are also Coca-Cola. The Sprite bottles. And well, each make has their own color.
No, I understand. I just suddenly thought, wow, that could be a good way to code your water too, but thank you.
Yeah, no, the waters are all the same. So
okay.
There's no difference there.
Did everybody see all the pictures? Because although Flint did send me a message saying I could use my arrow key is not behaving. So I don't know if you got to see, there were 4 pictures in all. And has everybody seen those?
I seen the blue one there. There was a blue.
Yeah, the blue bucket.
Bucket.
Yeah, and
yeah, the blue bucket is.
You can left or right click too. I think that'll work too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that big bucket.
My computer is old. There, can you see this one?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Okay. So that's part of the collection that you give away. It's every day people come to you, right, John?
Yeah, continually.
Yeah.
At any hour of the day or the night, I get people coming in, and I don't use distilled water. I have natural fountain water. So I've got 7 different fountains here next block, 100 meters away. So I've got a hose pipe, a black hose pipe that brings the water over to my place. And that pours into a tank, a water tank. I have some GANs, a couple of bottles with different GANs in that tank. I pump it up into the up top on the roof of my home, where there's another tank with more GANs bottles, and then I use it in the tap. I use this as for the tap water, and I pour it into this blue tank you see there. That tank is a 200-liter tank, which is cut down by the middle, and well, that's where I produce the GANS water. I keep that in there for 24 to 48 hours. All depends on the amount of bottles I have the people bring along to be filled up. So
well, I am still open on my mic, sorry. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go look for that one first picture that really shows the difference between those 2 feet. I don't know what happened to that, but
well,
it was
the foot you showed is where the
nail came out. Right?
Yeah, the bloke gave me this picture when the nail popped out. And the second picture is the one I took after he had gone to see the doctor. So it's The picture you're going to show is the second picture, not the first one. The first picture he took of his own foot where the nail was popping out. And he said no blood came out of the perforation. The nail just popped out. And that was it.
And that picture has mysteriously disappeared from that file because it was right in there, but it keeps coming in as a white file. So I have to do some searching. I hope I can find it. If not, send it to me again if you can find it. But it was...
Sorry, John, I was wondering, you know the blue bucket that we just saw? You had little jars in there. Were those glass jars with
yes, exactly.
dried GANs, or was that different GANs, or what was that?
There are different ganses there. There are 12 jars there. About 8 or 9 of them have zinc and CO2 GANs. They're different batches, so that the potency is different from one from the other. And then there are 3 jars. One has a CuO copper oxide, which is blue-greenish. Another one has copper, which is that brownish. And then I've got another one that
pull up the blue bucket picture.
Yeah, this is the picture I took after the nail popped out.
There's 3-4 different files going because they keep disappearing from the ones I've been creating. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to see what this looked like before the nail came out. Can you see that picture, everybody?
That was after the nail popped out.
Oh, that was after the nail popped out?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, so it's a good thing we showed it then. Okay, I'm going to stop that and I'll come back to the bucket. Hopefully it's not far.
And so those jars are jam jars, about 250 gram jars. And I keep them in the jars so the GANs doesn't sort of mix one with the other and get isolated. I don't have a cap on them, so the water sort of can recirculate itself inside the tank. It doesn't consume the GANs. If you don't sort of pour water into this black hose, there is filling up the water right now. In this picture, you can see that filling up.
Mm-hmm.
And that bucket has a capacity of 100 liter capacity. So that's the GANs water I make every day.
There's no dry GANs in there, no?
No. They're all wet GANs. I do have some dry GANs outside, but as Mr. Keshe hasn't said what we should do with the dry GANs, I just have it as a show piece. As far as I gathered from all the teachings, the thing is to keep the GANs in the water so it works better. That's what I gathered, at least. I don't know if you have any other idea.
Wonderful, thank you, John.
What's brilliant is that it doesn't cost much. These are all doable things. Jam jars are possibly easier to find, baby jars, baby food jars and things like that. That's perfect. That's really...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now unless anybody wants to see any more pictures. It's all good. Does anybody have any other questions for John before I stop sharing?
I've been doing this for what, over a year right now, since March last year. So I've done over 20,000 liters of GANs water, and the people that are consuming it very happy and thankful.
Thanks for sharing, John.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much, John.
Thanks for all that you do, John. You and Alex and Eric are very inspiring to this soul today. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a
I think
very
that's
interesting.
the idea of all us studying this technology and putting it to use.
Beautiful. Liberty, did you have more pictures, or was that the end now?
No, that's it now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do we have anyone else who would like to share their experiences with us and maybe show something, or any more questions? And if not, we can just digest what we had for tonight. I think there was a lot of information in it. And then we could wrap up. Flint, what do you think?
Oh, wait, we have somebody in chat, but it must have sent it privately. There's Thomas. He has a plasma health unit he'd like to share. How do I send the files, or can I share screen? So yes, Tom, unless it's time to go. But
hello.
Hey, there's Thomas. Okay.
Is it all right if I share quickly?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I've been a student with the foundation for, I guess, officially a few months, but I started actively researching it for just over a year. And this was completely a soul-guided project of mine. I was getting dream downloads on a health unit that uses a water toroidal flow. And I don't know if I can, I've never done this before. Do I just share screen to show, or do I send the files over?
What do you have to show?
Oh, I've got pictures and a couple short videos.
You just bring the pictures up in the application that's going to display them, and then you share that application.
Okay. That's on the Zoom screen somewhere?
Yeah, on the Zoom, it'd be share screen button on the control panel there.
But just make sure your pictures are in your browser first. Like on
you open them up first, and then you share the screen.
Does that start video?
Here.
Start video would be like if you have a video camera.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Justin. I'm right next to him. I'm going to help him out here.
Okay.
Yay!
All right. You want to pull up your pictures before you hit share screen?
Oh. All right. So.
That's not going to work. You have to, the viewer that comes up, you share that viewer.
Oh, stop share.
Okay.
Okay. So when you hit share screen in the middle of this,
yeah,
a viewer comes up. That's where you.
Oh, so I see. Now I can show that. Yes. So that's one part of the puzzle.
No, you just hit the left or right arrow button at the bottom to go to the next one.
Okay.
The bottom of the picture is left or right.
Is that working? No.
Yeah, sometimes what it's supposed to do, it doesn't do. I noticed that myself.
Pick up what you want, and then.
No, it should work. Just open up one picture in your Windows viewer.
Yeah.
Share that viewer, and then you can do left or right arrows at the bottom of the viewer.
Okay. So that's, do you see something else there or no?
We see the wood
bench. Okay. Okay, there we go. So
here we go.
Okay, so
and you can scroll wheel your mouse to zoom in and
right.
out.
Okay, so I'll go through the just the structural setup. So that was the bench, the sliding bench. That is one end of the structure. I guess that's how I got it started. Just 2x4s. Put put together, and that is the pod kind of all put together. And then that's the frame. I drilled holes through each of those supports going all the way across. I used the number 72, which is half of 144 for the one of the maggrav coils. So the flows I designed to work with this pump, and I have two outlets going into that structure. I have one going into the south end of the pod, and then I have other flow going in from the middle to the north. So I have a gravitational flowing into the magnetical. And this was kind of my idea when I was coming up with it. And it's interesting. I had the idea and I started building this. And then Mr. Keshe actually explained this device to a T, and he called it a peace island. There's me in it, and it's really easy to get into it because of the these bearings I have on there. Anyone can go in there with a hand and just pull themselves into it. So what he said it does, and I didn't know this at the time, was it actually cuts you off from the earth and you're creating a new condition in it. So yeah, there's me. I get a 6'6" person could fit in it completely. So
what's in the tubing?
Well, I threw in ocean GANs. So my thought was that it has all the fields from this planet, and whatever your soul needs, it could be anything. It takes what it needs, and anything that it doesn't need, it also can do that because it has every field in it to attract and to not. So I can show possibly a short video.
You must have used a lot of tubes, Thomas.
Yes, that was close to 800 feet of tubing, roughly 10-foot wounds by 72. It was close to 800 feet. So that was probably the most lengthy process, was feeding that tube through all those little holes.
Is each circular tube separate?
It's all connected, but there's two flows. So there's
so the tube is like a big spiral.
Yes, but just like the maggrav, the gravitational feeds into the magnetical. So it's not connected in the flow, but it's connected in the energy. So the two flows coming from the pump the gravitational starts at the south end and the magnetical starts in the middle, and they both flow north, and that's the loop I created. So it's like the toroidal flow.
So if you wanted to change it all out to CO2 GANs, could you just pump it all out and pump in the CO2?
Yeah, it's very easy. Can I show a quick video? If that's all right.
Again, you had to bring up the video in its player and share the player.
Is that showing?
You also have to choose under the share screen on the Windows there, you have to choose to share computer sound. Optimize for full screen.
Okay.
And you have to stop share first.
Okay. Stop share. So go share screen again.
Yep.
Pick the video app. Choose share computer sound. Optimize for full screen.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you already try to start playing the video? You have to select the video.
Okay.
Start playing it.
I closed it.
Pause it?
Yeah.
So what do you call that device?
Well, I called it just the Plasma Health Pod, but Mr. Keshe 2 months later termed it as a peace island. So, yeah.
Sounds like you should be writing a song called Peace Island. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Do I redo it again?
Close this up.
I think I've seen your device on Facebook previously. You've been sharing that, haven't you?
I did it a couple times, but yeah. All right. So this is my setup. I moved it to the other room because the pump's a little loud. It's a 1/10 horsepower DC pump. I have it hooked up to a car battery, and then I have a little controller that can fine tune the speed of the pump. And I found that at certain points, there's a very strong harmonic resonance, and it really hits a few octaves, and I was hearing these crystal-like bowl sounds at certain points. So, so the wood box is where the pump is, and the reservoir of the ocean Gans is sitting right on top of there. So I'll just quickly play this and then show you. So that's me playing with the speed of the pump, and it's interesting. I was first actually I turned the pump on the day Mr. Trump got inaugurated, and I was feeling the energy throughout the whole entire house, and it was pulsating the veins in my head, and I couldn't like run away from it. I couldn't suppress it. I guess it was my body interacting with those fields. And eventually I got in tune with it, so it didn't do that anymore. But I wanted to feel how far it went. So I walked down the block, and I was feeling it at least 10 houses down.
Can I ask you, Thomas, what are you using your device for, or what was the purpose behind you building it?
You know, that's a wonderful question. And it's funny because life kind of leads you to one thing and then it takes you to the next. But initially, it was for my mother, who has a condition that doctors are physically unable to correct with their technology. So I got busy and was thinking, how could I possibly heal my mother's condition? And it's a brain aneurysm, and it's located in such a place that they can't get access to it physically. And it's behind her head, really close to the brainstem and where the neck meets. So having this device in the house really changed my mom and my dad's emotions, and they didn't even notice it. But it was like they got over stuff that they would used to dwell on and get stressed out about. They would still get irked, but it was gone within a few moments. It was really interesting to see their change. But she only went into it for 30 seconds because she said it was so strong that she didn't like what it was doing to her head. And she's really sensitive as is. She really can't get stressed out, or else she'll collapse or have some sort of stroke if the aneurysm gets if it's get pressurized in some sense.
That's a beautiful reason for building it.
Yeah, thank you. But actually, I have one awesome testimonial that I'll just share one more quick video of, and it's another lovely member of my family. She recently passed away, but it was a divine synchronicity, her passing and me still being at home to see what this device is capable of. And It was my German Shepherd Husky dog, and she one night had a really bad stroke, and she was unable to move. So can you see her?
Yes, we can see her.
Yeah, that's Jasmine, and she was literally lying down like that for a whole day, unable to move. And I'm like, all right, perfect. I tried to get her into this before when she was still moving and able, but I guess being it so confined and closed, she didn't really want to stay in it. But now she didn't really have a choice, so I threw her in there. And yeah, like again, she wasn't moving at all. She was just like a rock, and you might be able to see it, but her muscles in her chest start to twitch. So she was kind of able to move her head a little bit and her neck, but that was after 20 minutes of being in there. She was getting these. It wasn't she was having seizures and spasms, but that was like throughout her whole body. But this was kind of like a localized, almost like a shiver, and it was coming in waves. I'll play that over again.
Yeah, I think I saw that twitch, and I saw it in her face as well at the end.
Yeah. So it was actually, I guess, firing all these reconnections again in her head and her brain, and she did actually pee in the pod, but she was in it for a good 30 minutes, and it was pretty incredible. Later that day, she actually was able to walk. And she hopped up 2 flights of stairs, which she, on a good day, would never do. And she was kind of running around in the backyard later that night. So it actually gave her her soul back. And Mr. Keshe explains that this is literally creating a new condition, and all you're doing is reconnecting with your soul, which works down to the emotions and then to the physical. So this was a wonderful validation of it. And I did do one more test really quickly, and I don't have pictures of it, but really short and sweet. It was just sprouts, and I did sprouts inside, outside, with the pod on, with it off, and of course 2 controls outside of it, away from, as far away as I could in the house. But I know this field's going hundreds of feet. I actually don't know how far it's going, but the interesting thing is the exact center of the pod is where the sprouts grew the most. Everything in it grew bigger, but right in the center is where the sprout grew the best, and had twice as long as roots, twice as long as of a sprout, and it lasted an extra almost 3-4 days before it all dried out. So I'm still kind of figuring this thing out, but it's a wonderful application to process anything that your soul needs emotionally, physically. And I've fallen asleep in this thing a couple times. I probably had close to 30 hours of runtime at this at least. And I've had a lot of friends come in here and give some wonderful testimonies, but I wasn't ready for this testimonial workshop. So this is all I could piece together at the moment, but I'm sure I'll be back again to give more knowledge.
Yes, Thomas, please do so. Please keep us updated on this wonderful work there. There's one last question I have for you. You were saying that when your mom used your device, it was too strong for her. Did she say what it felt like? Or did other people say what do they associate it with, that feeling?
Yeah, her testimonial isn't really a great one because she was only in it for 30 seconds. But I had one friend go in it a few times, and he's been going through these recollections and therapy sessions, and he's realizing that he was abused as a child, and it was one of the reasons why he had migraines growing up as a teenager. And when he goes into this, he immediately, that re-triggers, he'll get migraines within a few minutes. So he only can go into it for, I guess, a few minutes at most. I think the longest he was in there was maybe like 6-7 minutes, but I can go in there for hours, no problem. I guess it really depends on each one's personal situation. But I've had many friends come in there and say their old physical injuries come back up, and I've shattered a lot of joints. And one of the first things I was physically feeling was those old injuries, and actually a dead tooth. I have one of my front teeth it died 10 years ago, and I was feeling that, which was really strange. I've never felt sensation in that tooth for a long time. So
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Thomas. Beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have more questions now for Thomas or anything in general?
Yeah, I would like to ask, this is John here, Thomas, do you have GANS water in the pipe, or do you have a mixture of GANS and GANS water?
I haven't got there yet, but for the this setup, it was just distilled water. That setup takes approximately 10 liters to fill it all with a little bit in the reservoir, and I probably threw close to 4 liters of ocean GANS in it.
Yes, now I recollect you mentioned the GANS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Keshe said that in the ocean GANS, it's mostly CO2, zinc, and the GANS of water. So it really does have a strong health effect. So I am actually going to be building another one of these very shortly for a dear friend, and I'm just going to be putting in CO2 and zinc and seeing what happens.
Yeah, you could have 2 different helixes with different types of GANSes in them. Make them circulate one by the other and sort of create 2 different fields inside.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing 2 pumps and then 2 flows per pump. And I guess you'd only have 2 reservoirs, but you can do a mixture, one being 80% CO2, 20% zinc, and then the other being 80% zinc and 20% CO2.
What are you using? The SureFlow 12-volt pumps?
Yeah, it's a DC 12-volt pump, and I went with that because I didn't want it connected to the grid, so it doesn't have any power being siphoned off. And it's interesting, when you're in it, you could feel the energy syncing up to the pump, and it's really amazing. You could focus, let's say, on your heart inside, and it will change not only the feeling inside of you to that energy being centered in your heart, but it actually, I realized that the energy dictates the pump being spun. So
yeah, what is it? That centrifugal pump, or is it the 3-valve rotating pump?
yeah, it's the 3-valve rotating pump.
I think I'm going to copy your design there. I've got 2 of those pumps I've had for about 40 years now. I'll put them into service.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of experiments, a lot of things seen tonight that we might try out ourselves. And then don't forget to come back and give us a testimonial.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, what's nice is you could tend people that are laying down, and we've seen the Rodrigo Vildosola. He does the pipes, but in a vertical way. So you got to sort of pick them up and put them over a person. I imagine you've seen the Rodrigo's design.
Yes, I have. This one was, like I said, in design for my mother in mind, so she could literally flick on a switch, lay down, and have someone slowly push her in, or she could pull herself into it if she needed. The whole setup maybe cost 600. The tubing was probably 300. The wood an extra 200. The fasteners and metal bracings with the pump. So it was about 600 Canadian. I'm from Canada, so someone can probably put this together for under 400 American, I'm pretty sure. And if you have scrap wood laying around.
Yeah, if you're a handyman, you could put that together with a few bucks, yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing how your mother feels when it's all CO2 water or whatever changes you make into it, because you surely love your mother to go and create that for her. Good for you. Thank you so much, Thomas. And I look forward to hearing more stories too.
Thank you so much for letting me share.
Danny and Flint, this has been one incredible testimonial show. Thank you, you two, for creating it.
Thanks, all of us. We're just sitting here and watching.
Yeah.
You're holding the fort. You're holding the fort.
Yeah. Anybody else who'd like to come up with something, or shall we just announce our next meeting, which I think is Monday, the 11th of September, 2017, if I'm right, Flint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in the Monday before classes start on the 18th. So
yeah, same time, 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time, 6 p.m. Universal Time. Any other times?
Good evening, everybody.
hello, Jalal.
Hello.
It wouldn't have been anything without your voice in here, Jalal.
Thank you, Devi. I was working in some devices, you know, and I didn't finish it yet, but it's something simple. If you go to the what you call it, the short place where you have old cars, you can take so many things from it, and you can build something. If you want, I can share my camera. I will show you. Can I?
Sure. What did you build?
Yeah, wait a minute a second. Okay. Do you see that?
Yes, Jalal.
Yes.
This is, you know, the window cleaner. Every car have one like this.
Oh, a wiper?
Yeah. And if you go to the place where the old cars is, you can buy such a thing. Cost nothing. and such a small device, a pump, and you connect the wires to it. And I put two of them because I want to make a loop between them, one with different ratios, you know.
So this is the motor of a car's window wiper, yeah?
Yeah, this one, that's the black one. You see it down?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like this one. It's very small, and it will take from you about 3 volts. You can put a small battery to it, and it will work. You need to put 2 or 3 or 4, how much you want to do, how much you want to make, how many ganses you want to fix in. Also, you can build such a small thing. And that's for, I'm working with for 1 week. That's why you don't hear my voice.
So we're going to see the finished project then in about 4 weeks' time?
It's already finished. I need only maybe an hour.
Oh!
Yes.
Okay. And so you'd stand in between...
Yes, you can sit. Let me show you. You can stand here. It's not very high.
So there are tubes filled with?
This tube, you can fill it with CO2 liquid plasma. You can fill it with zinc liquid plasma. Whatever you want.
Okay. So
and I chose first one. This one I made. You see, it's very simple, and you can put a hole in it, and this is the pack liquid water, and this one pulling out the water up, and you can choose any kind of guns you need to work with it. And there's 2 separate motors, and I can put 4 motors in that because everyone have 2 motors. So you can do so many things. This is only a small idea, you know.
It's a brilliant idea, and it's probably quieter than the other motor that we were hearing. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's you will not hear it. It's really, I can't. Do you hear that?
No, that's fantastic. Woohoo! Yay!
Nothing. You will hear nothing.
Brilliant idea. So that is, you got that from a car recycling place, and those are windshield wiper motors.
Yeah, you see, and now you see the water inside. I just tested with water, normal water. Now you see it's going down. It's need to put, only to take out the water, the air from the pipes, and it's working.
Brilliant.
Very simple. The main thing here, even if you put only 1 meter from here and 1 meter from here, this only you need to make a loop between the fields, and it will do all the things what you want to make from it, you know. If you have the capability to make something big, it's okay. But if you don't have the capability, it's just simple. Only you need something small like this, and you can build with how many meters I used? 6 meter here and 6 meter there, and cost nothing, not much, you know. And you can take all of that from the place of the old cars, maybe not more than $20.
Even the tubing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the tubing is for 1 meter. It costs here in Sweden. It costs about 15 kron, about $1.50. It's expensive here because you cannot find such a thing. But if you find, there's so many things in the old places where they sell the second hand. There's so much things. Now you see, now it's circulating.
We're not seeing anything.
Sorry, I will show it again.
Okay.
You see the water?
Yeah, we do. And it is so quiet. Wow, that's fantastic.
And it's circulating. You put the amount of gas you want, the CO2, and the different ratio between them, and you have the loop. So I will not let you down, Danny. I must come in every time. So I was waiting for that.
Very good.
Okay, and also I have something else. Let me show you. I am doing so many experiments here. Okay. Let me show you. You see that? This is a ball.
Yep, we see it.
Yeah. Inside the ball is CO2 kit, nano-coated copper and zinc plate, and so closed, sealed. And in the above, I have a ball with the CS3 guns. You see, it's not so much sophisticated, simple. And it's for 2 days now. It's already built something down here. I don't know what's that.
Wow.
Yeah, small things, and it works, and for what. And this is the second one. This is a smaller one. The same thing.
I think we'll be seeing your spaceship soon, Jalal.
I am in a spaceship, my God. So, simple things, and if it's work, it will work.
Well done, Jalal. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me show.
Loads of experiments. Brilliant. Great. Thank you very much, everyone.
I just have a tip for Jalal.
Yeah.
He said it's difficult to find this tubing, plastic tubing. Have you ever been in Biltema?
Yeah, it's there. I did buy it about, I have about 100 meter.
Yeah, okay. Because Biltema has a lot of it.
Yeah, and 50 meter, it cost me about 480 kron. So it's nothing. It's less than $1 for a meter. So
Yes.
I have here about more than 100 meter. I thought to make all the 4 Ganses tubing in the beginning, and then I left it with only the CO2 guns, and it will not take much It's only about 6-7 meters for each. And if I want to put more, also I can, because I have so many motors. I have about 10 of them or 12. Every time I find something broken or something, I take it, and it costs nothing. It's very cheap, really. And this, the container, the water container, if you find it broke, it's okay. You can fix it with the silicone, and this 2 of them is already broken, but I fixed it to seal the leak from it, and then nothing. And if you don't have that, you can do it with this, the other one, what I show you, the gallon, and it's the same thing. And the gallon, for me, it's better, but because this one is already connected, I find it, so I bought that one. And if I see it is not really good, I will change it to the gallon. And with the gallons, it's better, and small one, you don't need a lot of water in it, liquid plasma. Only 1 liter is enough, because this tube, it will not take more than 50 or 100 milli. So, is it okay?
It's beautiful.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jalal.
Thank you.
Do you have more questions, or?
Yeah, we have Wayne.
Wayne, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Danny.
Hi, Wayne.
Just a minute. We just wanted to invite the public for tomorrow, Tuesday, 4 p.m. CEST time, and that's the West Coast is 7 a.m. in the morning, and the East Coast will be 10 o'clock a.m. Carolina will coming out. Remember the August 2nd and 3rd, when the UC and EC and signed the document for peace treaty, and it's still alive. Don't forget the peace treaties is to maintain peace take a lot of work and take a lot of energy, but we have to carry this on. So tomorrow, just the UC will be there, and EC and core team will be there to get some opinions from, get some wishes, and from the public. So knowledge seeker seekers, welcome, and everybody welcome. So we want to hear from you, and we're looking forward to share the peace process and continue with the momentum going. And that's I would like to share with you. And I think it's the same Zoom on Thursday for public in English. And tomorrow you will hear different languages we're speaking, and they speak English and then in their own languages. It will be fun, and it will be exciting, but at the same time is the good things for the new nations. One nations, one planet, one race. Thank you, you all, and have a wonderful evenings or good morning or everywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the announcement, Wayne.
Yes, thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think you'll see many of us there. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's Justin. So if I can share screen, I'd like to show what I built last year, if you guys are okay with that.
Let us see what you built last year.
Is that there?
Nope.
Nope.
Yes, something's coming up now.
How about
Yes.
now?
Yes, we see it now. Beautiful.
Okay. So I had the kids and all the neighbors over. We've been teaching or explaining that there's other stuff available to the children. So they became a little more aware that there's the possibility of making spacecrafts and actually getting lift and motion. So the kids helped me build this. It was based off of Danilo Candido's principle of the breathing of molecules. He explained this in November 22nd, Plasma Reactor Group. And there is a written affidavit he put out somewhere out there, Facebook. I have it in my files as well. But Danilo from Italy helped me with the understanding of why I was putting this together anyway. I had another intention with the 3 core reactors, 3 below and 1 above, but did not actually get to that point with this one. One of the most interesting things with this, before the decking was put on and any of the reactors were put on, the structure itself sat in the garage for about a week and noticeably started having a moisture directly under the center of what looks like the center honeycomb or just the center space. The floor of the garage was always wet, only underneath that specific spot. I ended up moving this 9-foot disc or platform around the garage a few times just to see if that moisture would move around with it, and it did. So just something along with the principle of the actual size and shape and everything had something to it. Kind of let me know I was going in the right direction. Well, after about a month of putting everything together, we did get this up and running. When standing inside with all of the reactors in operation, there was this very strange alcohol phenomena where inside I could not see out. I know my eyes were open, but I had more of what looked like an extremely just white blank surface everywhere around me. I could feel the controls, the speed controls, the power supply. I could feel the decking. I could feel everything, but I couldn't see anything. It kind of startled me, scared me really. So I shut it down, and I didn't even go back to it for a couple of days. I tried to get people over to come and experience this with me. I was not able to get anybody to at least help back my word on it, I guess. But I did go back into it a couple of days later, and I had the exact same results where I felt weightless in a way, and also like I was being pulled in 2 directions, up and down. Not like gravity, but more like in my skin and blood, like I was being stretched out in a way, a tingling, almost like static sensation. So I really didn't know what I'd done in any sense of why it was working, what's actually going on in there. But everything was nano-coated. There's the CO2, CH3, and CO2 in there. The CO2 on the outside, to my best understanding, created a sort of a bubble to encase the other 2 fields of the 2 triangles, the blue and the red inside. And it was the most peaceful, calming feeling, other than the fear of, I've never seen my eyes go blank in a way where it wasn't a bright white light or anything. It was just a solid, as if you were staring at a blank white sheet of paper. And again, after having tried it a few more times after that, I got more and more comfortable with it and realized that the only thing that was blocking me from maybe doing anything with such a device was my own fear. Realizing that I did not know enough about what I'd actually created, I took it apart. I didn't want to proceed any further until we have at least better understanding of what we're doing. I really haven't talked about this very much. I did show the pictures. Rick put it out on the Plasma Reactor group, but I really haven't talked to anybody about it other than just a few close friends. A lot of people say, you know, it looks in a way of a specific group of cults or whatever, but just because of the design. The feelings and sensations, though, are something that I just can't overlook as any kind of coincidence at all. So I don't know what direction we're actually going to go with anything like that. I do know what we've learned of putting more of the reactors to the outside, put the star formation in there. Thomas spoke earlier about the health pod, I'll call it. I forget what he named it, but we're going to be building another one of these. Actually, in the process of finishing up the 3 core reactors that are nearly finished. But I don't think we're going to have a problem in understanding what we're actually doing. Last year, one of my reactors had a strange thing happen to it. I wasn't able to communicate with it with a radio transceiver. I had it inside a protection box just in case anything broke or went loose or a magnet flung out of it, and I ran it for a couple of days. And then all of a sudden it stopped communicating to the radio transceiver, which to me suggested that it actually built some kind of force field barrier blocking its communication. After trying it several times, it would get up to speed, assuming it built up a field, and then cut out radio communication. So then I hardwired it, left it on the desk. I no longer felt the need to put it in a safety protection box because nothing broke, nothing fell, nothing dislodged. There wasn't a lot of vibration to it, so it actually held up pretty well. I just let it keep running. At that point, it was actually plugged into the wall. But the next morning, after that, I walked out, let the dog out, went out to the garage, and this thing's kind of hovering over the top of the table. I didn't know what I was looking at. I was kind of skeptic and scared and just kind of lost, bewildered. There's a lot of variables in what I did, but I'd followed to the best of my ability Mr. Keshe's understanding of the CH3 and aluminum cores, or GANs in the cores, and it lifted off the table, and then it ended up lifting itself up enough that it hit the ceiling and fell to the floor and bent the shafts. I was never able to get it into operation again. And again, I had just so many questions of what did I do? What was in it? What worked? Why did it work? And really didn't have any kind of group of people to study further, develop more. So at this point, I do have at least 1 more of the students here with me by my side. We have access to a pretty large facility and a lot of materials to start testing this all over again. So I think, God bless us all, that we are not too far away from actually seeing people get lift really soon. But the feeling, again, from this kind of setup was absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how to explain it in words other than it was one of the greatest feelings I've ever felt in my entire life when I was no longer scared. So I think we'll be going in the same kind of direction here really soon. And this is...
Thanks, Justin. If you ever have anything else that levitates, please film it for us.
I will. I did not. I wish I would have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Justin, please.
Yes, Joel.
Is that balls in the top and reactors?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just go through this real quick. Here you are.
Okay.
These are the ping pong balls, just a hole drilled into the center. Before they were nano-coated, they were attached to these little adapters, PVC things that I found, that just simple, quick release, so I could swap out any of the reactor cores within a small amount of time. So there's the motors actually without the ping pong balls on there. They just literally spin right on, and you can switch them out within minutes.
Okay. Beautiful. And did you use in the CO2 the same ratio, or?
There was no specific actual ratio used at all. There was just whatever I had. And that being said, there's no way I did any of them exactly the same. So there was at least a gradient ratio, sure.
Maybe that's why you have the two, the magnetic and the gravitational, all in the same time, you know.
Yeah. Well, it did feel as if, like I said, I was being, in a way, like my cells, my tissue was being stretched out both up and down, not outward, but like straight up and straight down. And you can see almost in this picture, just below, there's a little bit of what looks like actual moisture right there on the concrete floor, minus the mess, of course, but there was always this circular spot of moisture wherever I moved that into the garage. So I couldn't explain what it was exactly, but it even did it without the reactors on there.
Even without the reactors, only from the shape, you mean?
Just from the shape alone.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find the actual shape real quick. There.
Okay.
That's the structural support of the, what I was calling craft. The reactor, the 3-core reactors, were going to go in those legs in the center there. There's a little bit better picture, minus the mess, of course. I think we all have garages like this.
Is that aluminum or steel?
It is actually galvanized iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that could be very interesting.
Yeah, bonus, right?
A lot of work. Beautiful.
Thank you. So there was the original drawing down on the bottom there underneath my son of the, that's what just came to me as an image while the kids are all running around the house and everything. And the next morning we set out and put it together. And my son's just showing how easy. All I used was a tape measure, a pair of snips, and a screwdriver.
Beautiful.
How precious that he's growing up doing this. This is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. I do have one this is, I think, my favorite. He's showing how simple it is with just an abacus. So
you need great helpers there.
Yeah, our future's in their hands. Look at that. Oh, I love them. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll stop sharing if anybody has any questions.
Beautiful, Justin. Thank you.
Welcome.
Excellent. Another wonderful testimonial. Thank you. Now, anyone else? Any last words or questions before we go to bed or get coffee?
Yeah, it's getting late for you guys, isn't it? Thank you so much again for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Flint, do you have anything more, or?
No, I don't.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm thanking everyone, and I hope to see you again 11th of September, the second Monday of next month at the same time. Thank you very much. Bye now.
And also tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4.
Yes.
And the public Knowledge Seeker Workshop number.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yes,
Levy.
and thank you everyone who's presented.
Thank you, Flynn. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, this has been the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute 9th public meeting for testimonials for Monday, August 14th, 2017. Have a great rest of your evening, day, afternoon, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.